Yes, sir. Welcome on in, everybody, to another episode of the Reggie Chatman Show. I am your host, Reggie Chatman, on what's been an incredible day of college football. We are reacting directly to the end of that Georgia versus Ole Miss game in Athens. And boy, what a game it was. Oh, my goodness. The Bulldogs pulling out a 43-35 win on a day where everything went right for the Bulldogs offensively. I mean, they ended up going 8 for 8 offensively, scoring on each one of their drives during this game. And my major takeaway from this game is that Gunnar Stockton needs to be talked about as one of the better quarterbacks in the entire country. He was absolutely insane. Before we really get started here, as we do our deep breakdown after this game, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. This is a new show that I'm trying to build here in Atlanta. For those who don't know me, I'm Reggie Chatman. I host this show as well as I host different shows on 11 Alive, which is the NBC station here in town in Atlanta. I've been covering teams in this city for more than 4 years now, including both the Bulldogs and Georgia Tech and the Falcons and any and everything going on in this city. And my whole goal with this channel is to be able to break down the biggest storylines from a huge and an awesome city where sports is so prevalent here in this town. And what a better time, or there's really probably not been a better time to be able to do it, because it feels like all the teams in town seem to have something figured out. But today's episode comes directly after the end of that Georgia versus Ole Miss game. And like I said, what an incredible game it really truly was. Gunnar Stockton, man. I mean, what more can we say about him? There were people that I heard talk, they were not convinced that he was a good player after that Tennessee game. And I'm like, brother, were you not watching the game? For some reason, I don't know how they're not seeing it. Gunnar Stockton has been so good in the biggest moments when the lights have been the brightest and when the opportunities have been the craziest. And it's so interesting, too, because it feels like such a juxtaposition to what we saw from their quarterback last year, and that same quarterback, Carson Beck, who threw 4 interceptions in the loss on Friday. Gunnar Stockton, meanwhile, goes 26 of 31, throws for a career-high 4 touchdowns, and also runs for one in a massive 43-35 win at home versus Ole Miss on a day where this team once again, and we talked about it in the pregame leading up to this game, once again, Georgia falling behind in this game. Once again, the defense looking like they were trying to find answers for an Ole Miss offense that looked electric. Once again, this team finding a way to pull out a crazy big win. At some point, they trailed by 9. They ended up coming back to win this game. Unbelievable. 35-26 was the score after Ole Miss went on a 12-play, 75-yard drive. And then here come the Bulldogs. They go touchdown, field goal, and they get the stops when they needed to get the stops. So first off, let's just talk about how crazy this game was, right? We go the first half. Field goal, touchdown, end of half. Then you go touchdown. For people who love points, this was the game to watch. I mean, what's the math on that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 straight scoring drives between these two teams. These defenses couldn't stop anybody. And what I thought was crazy, too, is the Ole Miss's drives were all pretty long and lengthy, too, except for that first one in the third quarter. They went 14 plays, 10 plays, 11 plays. That quick 2-play touchdown that ended up putting them up 28-20 at the beginning of the third quarter, which was a huge play, considering that the Dogs went down 21-17 after that touchdown drive that went 11 plays. Before the end of the half, they had a missed field goal. So just like that, Ole Miss goes in the half feeling really good. They're up 21-20. Ole Miss comes out on the second half, scores a touchdown on their very first drive. They're up 28-20 with an opportunity to start to pull away. And they did what they had to do offensively for most of this game, right? Georgia responded with a touchdown, 9 plays, 25 yards, and then Ole Miss won a 12-play, 75-yard touchdown. If you're Ole Miss, you did everything that you needed to do in this game, except for stop Gunnar Stockton and the Georgia Bulldogs, and an offense that at times has looked a little bit rough. They didn't look rough in this game against Ole Miss. I don't know how much more I can say about this offense, man. Let's just take a look at the stats while we're here. As I'm pulling it up on this computer here. 34 first downs in this game to Ole Miss's 21. I mean, like, these are absurd numbers. 6 of 11 on third down, 1 of 1 on fourth down. They had 510 yards of offense. Gunnar threw for 289, and they ran for 221 with 37 minutes of possession in this game. Only had 3 penalties. 49 rushes for 221 yards. I mean, they did it all. And I think the big thing, too, is they had a big fourth down conversion in the fourth quarter that allowed them to try and push ahead and get this win. I mean, let's go through some of my notes because I thought this was crazy, right? And we mentioned Gunnar Stockton, right? He started 8 for 10, and he was 10 for 13. And like I said, he finished with, just a total of 5 incompletions in the entire game. He was unbelievable, right? By the way, like I said, those scoring drives for Ole Miss, all by like double digit plays. And look, I have to be honest. Like, and we mentioned it in the before the game started, and this was what the podcast before the game started. By the way, if you guys are not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to be doing previews ahead of these games. I personally felt like Trinidad Shambliss was not going to be ready for this moment. The Ferris State star that transferred into Ole Miss, that was the second-string QB coming into the season, had never played on the road in the SEC in his career. And I thought one of the craziest things about it is, like, I thought I was like a big wig for being able to recognize that. Obviously, everybody else saw that. ESPN saw it. They did the math. The capacity at Sanford Stadium is more than 93,000 people, which I assume all of them were there. And that number is bigger than the entire attendance between every game he played last year at Ferris State. So I thought, especially because of what Kirby Smart said to this crowd, especially because they brought some extra energy, especially because they decided to do the stripe out game, that the Bulldogs crowd would really affect this kid from Ferris State, who is obviously now at Georgia or at Ole Miss. Trinidad Shambliss was really good for most of this game. Right, and then we mentioned it with the drive chart. It wasn't until the last 3 drives of this game, the entire fourth quarter, where it looked like, and I'm not even going to give the crowd really much of an effort on this. It was just the first time that Trinidad looked like he was a little bit rattled by the moment and a little bit rattled by this Georgia defense. So they went 3 plays, 0 yards in their first drive of the fourth quarter. 3 plays, 1 yard in their second drive of the fourth quarter. And then when you had to go get it, you end up holding Georgia to a field goal after a 10-play, 66-yard drive, keeps it an 8-point game. And all you need is to drive the field, score, get the 2-point conversion. Obviously, I'm saying it's obviously much more difficult than that, but they end up going 5 plays, 12 yards, and that Georgia defense that could not, they couldn't get a stop to save their lives for most of this game, come up with a massive stop to come up with a massive win. And look, if we keep going through this, right, I think a lot of this also is the fact that what really makes Georgia so impressive is they just never die. And they do it their own way. And one of the things that's really impressive is when they need to run the ball, they need to make sure they burn some clock and take control of the game. They can do it. That drive, so they were up 40-35. They get the punt after that 3-play, 1-yard drive from Ole Miss. And if you're Georgia, your whole goal is let's go out there and burn some clock. Let's burn some clock. They burned 4 minutes and 26 seconds, 10 plays on that drive. They go run, pass. Completes for 36 yards for a first down to Dylan Bell. Then they go run. They pass it once again to get Zachariah Branch, who, by the way, he is incredible, right? Sunday player. He's small, I get it. He's going to find his way, man. He's so fast, It feels like we've been saying his name the entire season because we have. He's clearly Georgia's best offensive weapon on the field in the pass game because he can do everything. He's such a weapon. He's also in the kick return game. Zachariah Branch is incredible. Picks up the first down for them. Then they go run, run, run. Field goal no good. Or excuse me, field goal good. Excuse me. I'm trying to read this off the side here. Field goal good. So they go up 43-35. A massive stop for Ole Miss. A lot of clock burn. You get the ball back with 2 minutes. 1:54 left. You start off with a run of 12 yards. Then you go incomplete, 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 incomplete. 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, 4th and 10. Incomplete, 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 incomplete. You can say what you want about this Georgia defense, man. You can say whatever you want about this Georgia defense. But they continue to get stops when they need them the most. When they need them the most, they get stops. And then they needed one. They ended up getting 3 or 4 at the end of this game to be able to close things out in the fourth quarter. I'm so impressed with Georgia, man. I'm so impressed with Georgia. I know in the last show that I did earlier on Saturday, I said that Georgia Tech might be the best team in the state of Georgia just because they're undefeated. This was a much more impressive win. Top 10 win at home over an Ole Miss team that has been the amount of adversity that this Georgia team had to go through. They couldn't get a stop. They recognized that if you don't get a stop, this offense recognized that every single one of their possessions was huge. Every single one, because they had to try and keep pace with this Ole Miss team. And we talk so much about how Georgia's, if they fall behind this game, they're going to really struggle. They scored on every single one of their possessions versus Ole Miss on Saturday. The highest scoring game in series history. This is Kirby Smart's 10th win versus a top, this is Georgia's 10th win versus a top 10 team, a top 5 team. I wish I could give them the credit they deserve. This is Georgia's 10th win versus a top 5 team since 2021. Ole Miss had 1 total yard of offense in the fourth quarter heading into that final drive. And all they got was that 12-yard run to begin the drive. And then, like I said, they went incomplete, 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 incomplete. Game's over. The Bulldogs win. They improve to 6-1 on the year, 4-1 SEC play. They're number 9 in the country coming in today. They get a big win over the top 5 team in the country. They feel legit. Obviously, they've got their problems. Obviously, they got to figure out some things on defense. I think that going forward, people are going to look at this defense. And, I had people texting me from around in the Bay Area, back where I'm from. They're like, is this Kirby's slowest defense that we've ever seen? Probably. A lot of that's not really Kirby's fault at the end of the day. These are still good players. There's just not the depth that there used to be just because of the transfer portal and how that all works. Things are obviously very different now. But boy, those frontline players can play. I'm a little bit worried about the DBs. Dalen Everett had a tough day. He had a couple penalties in rough moments where he needed to come through with a stop. And they gave them some yards, gave them some points. But what a performance from Georgia. So 6-1 on the year, 4-1 SEC play. All their goals are still ahead of them, especially in the SEC where things have been obviously very weird. You see my shirt. LSU ended up losing their games. They were top 10 in the country. They're gone. The team that beat them, Vanderbilt. I don't think that this Vanderbilt team can beat Georgia. Anyway, so let's kind of look ahead here now. If you look at the rest of Georgia's schedule, they go to they have the Florida game. Of course, it is the I'm not going to call it what they want to call it now. I think we should be keeping the tradition of what these games are called, the largest outdoor cocktail party, which is going to be awesome. That game is the next time Georgia hits the field. It's not for a couple of weeks as they play on the 1st of November. Then they are at Mississippi State before they host Texas at home after that. They have a random Charlotte game on the 22nd of November, 2 days after my birthday. Maybe I can take that off. And then Georgia Tech at the end of the year from inside of Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Boy, I'm so excited, man. What an awesome time to be in the city of Atlanta covering these teams. What an awesome time for you guys, the fans. We are on a collision course for an all-time year here in the state of Georgia. Both Georgia and Georgia Tech are both on path to make the college football playoff. Both of them are on path to make their conference title game. Both of them could be in. And they have to play each other at the end of the year. Woo! Boy, I'm excited. So make sure you guys stay tuned. I'm going to be trying to do these podcasts, these reactions, we're doing interviews 7 days a week. 7 days a week. The whole goal is to make sure that we get as much conversation about these teams as possible, much content out as possible, and then we go from there. Boy, am I excited to be able to cover these teams. Make sure you guys stay tuned for all the behind-the-scenes content. If you guys go to my Instagram, at Reggie Chatman. If you go to my Twitter, at Reggie Chatman. If you go to my TikTok, at Reggie Chatman TV. I know I have to keep saying that because I didn't get on TikTok earlier. I mean, I just didn't believe. I guess that's kind of on me. I should have known TikTok was going to be huge. I got Reggie Chatman TV. I couldn't get Reggie Chatman. I got to maybe go buy out the person who has my Instagram name or my Twitter name or my TikTok name. At Reggie Chatman. But thank you. Make sure you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys leave a comment. What do you guys think? Do you think this is Georgia's year to continue that dynasty, win another title? That defense worries me a lot, especially against the some of the bigger teams. I think the fact that Miami lost over the week shows a team that I thought was one of the better teams in the country losing maybe gives them a better chance. I think Ohio State's still the best team in the country. They're incredible. Have they really played anybody, though? Yeah. And then Indiana, man, what a win versus Oregon last week. They're good, too. So if we look at it, there's a good chance that Georgia should be in the top 5. Because obviously Ole Miss is going to drop. So make sure you guys follow along. So we should have 2 top 10 teams from the state of Georgia here in the top 10 of the AP poll when it comes out on Monday. Make sure you guys follow along. Thank you guys so much for being here. My name is Reggie Chatman. I'll see you guys tomorrow.